Welcome back to day 4 of the Anxiety Cure Crash Course, and I am so delighted to have you back. Today is an important one. We are getting to the crux of emotional distress. Remember, Einstein said if you had a problem, you'd spend 55 minutes on the problem, 5 minutes on the solution. Well, I had spent a lot of time on multiple treatments, therapies, psychiatric drugs, man. I felt like short of a frontal lobotomy, I tried everything, and in truth, it felt like I'd already had one of those. And that was when I decided to really go back to the drawing board, to really understand what exactly is anxiety, what is emotional distress, what is actually going on here. Well, the truth is, it's actually pretty simple, and it helps to understand what emotional distress, what anxiety is, in contrast to what fear is. See, fear is the feelings of nervousness that we experience in response to a real threat, like somebody pointing a gun at your head. Yeah? Anxiety, uh, well, that's the feelings of nervousness that we experience in response to a perceived threat, such as the thought of somebody pointing a gun in our head. Now, you can immediately see what makes anxiety so much more distressing in the long term than fear, because with fear, usually when the external threat goes away, so do those feelings of nervousness. But because with anxiety, there is no actual present external threat, because it's actually the perceived threat. Well, as long as we have a perception of threat, we're going to be distressed. And of course, we can maintain that perception. How do we maintain that perception? Through our thoughts. That's why in this program you're going to learn what to do about that obsessional, addictive, circular thinking that we tend to do, right? Because that's what maintains that perception of threat. Now, because it's our thoughts, because it is a perception, well, that means that we can be anxious about almost anything, We can find threat in almost everything, right? We can be anxious about sex, not getting any, or getting too much, right? We can be anxious about death, violence, money, yes, not having enough, but also having too much, right? People sometimes win the lottery and then get anxious about who their true friends are. We can be anxious about relationships, yes, once again, not having one, but I know people who are anxious because they've met the love of their life and now they're scared they're going to lose them. Yeah. It's kind of crazy, right? Anxiety is like super glue. It can stick to just about anything. If you create a perception of threat regarding that particular issue in your life, you will find a way to be anxious about it. You're going to be anxious about socializing, about weight, about hygiene. There's such a thing as eticophobia. That is the fear of failure. I guess we all get that. But there's even achievement phobia, right? The feeling, the anxiety that we feel in response to achievements, in response to success. We already know about people who are sapped, successful, and privately distressed, right? Because those successes bring with them certain stresses, and often sometimes just the disappointment that we're not as happy as we thought we were going to be. So why are humans so prone to anxiety? Well, I found that the best way to understand this is through a particular field of psychology known as evolutionary psychology. Now, evolutionary psychology says that any aspects of being human evolved, developed to enable our early human ancestors to survive and thrive. So if we're prone to anxiety, well, it must have helped them to survive and procreate. And it turns out that it did. See, our early human ancestors lived in a very different environment to you and I. They were in continual threat of being eaten by a hungry tiger or uncle. And the ones who survived long enough, well, what they learned to do really well was fight, or in my ancestors' case, flight, right? They learned to deal with threats, because the ones who sat around singing "It's a Beautiful Life" soon became the beautiful lunch of some big animal. And so these guys had developed a very high threat response, which enabled them to survive, right? That ability to detect and react to threat was critical. Now, in today's world, we have far less threat than they did, right? Again, I know this might sound counterintuitive. When I ask audiences, do you think the world is getting better? They usually tell me no. But if we look at on every major measure. Reductions in poverty, crime, increases in longevity, health. Folks, just imagine your caveman ancestors came down to earth today. I mean, man, just what would they see? They would see anybody in a middle class life with endless food, healthcare, shelter, entertainments, ability to fly in these big birds across the planet, even to the moon. I mean, they would think that they had died and gone to heaven. They would just be a little surprised why everybody in heaven seems so depressed and frustrated and anxious, right? Which tells you that it's not what's going on out there, it's what's going on in here, isn't it? Yeah. And now you're starting to understand what's going on in here, aren't you? You're starting to see what's going on. There is an operating system that we have that is geared towards locating and detecting threats. And even when there aren't real threats, we will manufacture threats, right? Because that's how operating systems work, right? If it is built to find a threat, we will still find, and that's why it always feels like there's something wrong with your life. Come on, admit it, right? I mean, it's either your work or your boss or your relationship or your body or how you look or the stain on the curtain, right? Or the car actually that maybe now needs replacing. And when something comes right, you just find something else, some other threat to detect, yeah? Am I right? This is how it works, doesn't it? Well, nothing wrong with you. It's just our operating system. That's how it operates, right? That's how it works. See, our ancestors had to do two things. Number one, get lunch. Number two, avoid being lunch. If they failed at number two, they would never get to enjoy number one again, right? You see, if you overestimate a threat, you live another day. If you underestimate a threat, you could die. And so there is this basic algorithm, this mental shortcut that underlies our human mind, our human operating system. Overestimate threat. Now that doesn't seem very clever. You're trying to be happy, right? Because if you're seeing threats all around, you are not going to be very happy. But your brain's much less interested in happiness than it's interested in survival, right? Then it's interested in survival. And so it figures we should be overestimating threats. And so we have what I call a hyper-reactive threat detection system. A hyper-reactive threat detection system. We will find threats to deal with. That's what the brain does. That's the way the operating system works. So know that if you are anxious or distressed, you are not unique, you are not alone, right? This is how our brains work. Yes, some people, that goes into overdrive and they can actually land up with a problem, but I want you to know that you are not defective, right? There is nothing wrong with you. Yeah? You are not broken, right? All you have is this operating system and we need to update it. And that's what this crash course is about. It's actually about updating your operating system. Yeah? Now, tomorrow is real important because tomorrow we're going to discover why some people actually find themselves with an anxiety disorder or with chronic emotional distress. Yeah, because not everybody does, right? Why do some people, now everybody struggles with emotional distress to some degree, right? We're all somewhere on that continuum. But why do some people develop a problem? And as I think you've come to realize, it's not because of trauma. It's not because of a chemical imbalance, right? It's not because of your genes. It's not because you weren't breastfed, okay? We're really good at finding reasons, okay? Now, I'm not saying there aren't some things in the past that could make us more prone to developing an issue, but we can't say that is the cause. It's not cause. It's not trauma. It is not an emotional imbalance. It is not your genes. Okay, it's not even early childhood rearing. And the way I can prove that to you is you can find somebody with the exact same situation, okay, it's not the exact same, but a very similar one, who didn't come up with the same problem. And you can have somebody who didn't have that trauma and has an even more serious problem, right? So what it has to do with, as you're going to discover tomorrow, and this is what is so exciting, is that the reason that we develop an issue is because we learn to respond to the world in that particular way. And the good news is we can unlearn. Now, tomorrow I'm going to show you how we learn emotional distress as a response, right? An emotional distress response. And once you understand that, that is the beginning of a real cure, of real healing. Yeah. So, in the few minutes that we have left, let's do a mental reconditioning process. Folks, remember your mental reconditioning process is not the cure. Okay, this is not the cure for anxiety. It's the same way as exercise is not going to heal you if you have really hurt yourself, right? You may need physiotherapy, you may need a doctor, right? And I'm going to show you what that physiotherapy, what the doctor looks like. But you still, exercise is really good in terms of strengthening you and helping to prevent injury, right? And same with our mental reconditioning process. So not the cure, but certainly helpful in terms of getting our minds, strengthening them and fortifying them. And that's what we're doing by developing a new habit. That's what you're doing by being here. And again, I want to congratulate you for that. So we're just going to do a short one which combines some of what I've already shared with you, right? We're going to reduce the stress response with our 3 slow, deep rhythmic breaths. We're going to do a little bit of gratitude, and then we're going to come into presence. Right? Remember being here now, right? Some of the anxiety is in our thoughts about what did happen, didn't happen, should happen, shouldn't happen. You keep saying, I should have, you end up shitting all over yourself. Okay, but when you come into the moment, yeah, you'll see that that's where our freedom is. So this is our mental reconditioning process for today. So helpful to close your eyes. Yeah, you don't have to, but it does help to settle some of the mind from those external visual stimuli. And we're going to breathe in for the count of 2. Remember, tummy goes out so that we get the air into the deepest part of our lungs. And if you're not quite getting this breathing technique, you'll notice when you go to bed at night, when you lie down, this tends to happen naturally. The technical term for this is diaphragmatic breathing. Diaphragmatic breathing is when we then go into the deeper part of our lungs, right? Remember, stress response breathing is up there, running away from a lion. Relaxation response breathing is down here. We actually see shifts from the lower brain to the higher brain, right? So you can be more focused, attentive, creative, and more effective in the world, besides being a lot happier. So here we go. MRP, our mental reconditioning process for today. Breathing in for the count of 2. Out on ka, in on 2. Ka, in on 2. Good. So just 3 slow deep breaths, and we can actually reduce the distress. We start to connect with the relaxation response and activate our higher brains. Good. And now I want you to think of something that you're really grateful for. Something that's maybe happened earlier today, or even from the distant past. Take a few moments to really, you can even in your mind, you can say, thank you, I appreciate that so much. You know, if you're religious, you can even make it into a prayer. You know, you can give thanks if you like. It's totally up to you. This is your gratitude. Good, so you're giving thanks for something that's happened in the past. You might even find yourself wanting to smile. I know I am right now. Go for it. Amplify those positive emotions. Amplify them. Good. And now give thanks for something that's happening right here now. Could just be the air in and out of your lungs. Could just be how your body feels. Calm, warm, at ease. You might even find some pleasure in your body. Yeah. Subtle. Softness somewhere in your body that you give thanks for right here now. And now give thanks for something that's coming up in the future, whatever it is. Maybe you're just going to take a moment with a loved one or with a pet, or you're going to have a meal, or whatever it is. Good. Now you'll notice that that gratitude is producing some pleasurable feelings in your body, some pleasurable sensations. And so we're going to just be present, not so much thinking about what we're grateful for, but just be present with the sensations in your body. So just for a few moments, and if you find your mind wandering to thoughts, just gently just bring it back to how your body feels, the pleasant sensations, the sort of residue of this gratitude that you've given. You feel it in your body. Just feel in your body. Just be here now in your body. Beautiful. All right, lovely. Good. Okay, you can open your eyes. So, uh, hmm, I enjoyed that. I hope you did. It's something I can't see you, but I feel you. I really do. You. This is for you, and the fact that you're with us, experiencing this, really, I want to thank you. This is my gratitude to you because in sharing it, it amplifies it for me. In fact, you might want to share this with somebody else. It's a really great way. As Socrates said, the best way to learn is to teach. Share it, right? Reinforce it for yourself. So, folks, tomorrow you are going to learn how anxiety and emotional distress is learned, that you can understand how it can be unlearned. Until then, there is nothing wrong with you that can't be fixed with what's right with you.